And let's bring in the one, the only Ellison Barber to talk a little bit more about this podcast. So Ellison, this is so epic. Huge congratulations. I gotta ask, what inspired you to talk about this? What inspired the launch of this particular podcast? Because I gotta say, like, when you get to talk to you in real life, you have so many interests that are just as amazing as this, and yet this seems like such a perfect fit.
I mean, you know me well enough to know that I have a problem or a strength in being like hyper fixated on things I'm interested in. So it's amazing that I'm getting to do once a week, one case, and just be like fully obsessed and in every detail I can possibly find. Yeah, it's crazy. This is the coolest thing to be a part of. For me, I have been an avid true crime watcher, listener, reader, all the things for forever. Like, I joke that I fall asleep going to bed, like watching Dateline, but I really do. And I have every night, like, obviously I don't have children. I have a lot of time for that to be like my wind down routine, but I obsessively watch Dateline episodes. I watch every single Netflix true crime documentary. And for me, I always say, even when I was just someone who was watching it or listening to it or reading about it, I was always interested in it because of the same reasons I do all the other things that I do in this job. Like, I care about people. I care about the truth. I care about giving other people as much factual information as possible. And I really think information is the best tool that we have, particularly in cases like criminal cases, to maybe find ways as a society to do something different or to maybe prevent the bad things from happening. So it's been really cool to get to do this. And it's such a layered show. Like, it changes kind of week to week depending on the guest, but it's so exciting. And it's a new episode every Wednesday on Netflix, which is so crazy to say.
Ellison, it's so interesting to hear you say that because, you know, your background, our viewers of this show will remember you as a war correspondent covering Ukraine. There is something about you that seems so drawn to, you know, very dangerous situations. You've been in Gaza, Israel, and again, we see you covering the horrors of war, the fear, the uncertainty, and yet the humanity in all of it. And there is somewhat of an overlap between, again, this primal fear of things like killers and murder in our society and the things that you've seen. Like, how do you reconcile all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I really think so much of it for me in all of these stories. Like, the reason why we tell these stories, the reason why we go in the field, go to places, why we do interviews. And I mean, you have done this so often in your career, all over the place too, right? You do it all the time, every night on this show as well, is that we know that the news, big events, bad things, that it has real impacts on real people, and that it's important to tell those stories because there are ripple impacts. It doesn't always just impact the people that are involved. It impacts so many people beyond it. And so that, I think, for me, is the connection between what I do in conflict zones and doing something like this. But the truth is, I think that is like, I think of it when I see your work too, that I'm like, I think that's what drives a lot of us who do journalism, is that we care about the news, we care about what's happening in the world, we think information is valuable for people to have, but we also know that the news impacts people and that that's why it is always such a big deal. And like, we're always trying to figure out ways of how we center people in those stories and keep them in mind as we tell news.
Yeah, the ripple effects are what, you know, connect us all for good and for bad. Before we let you go, weekly episodes dropping. You got Gabby Petito. What else can we expect you to cover? And what else are we going to be on the lookout for other than, like, trying to count the tattoos on the one side? I didn't know you had them on one side for the business and the
one side, only on the left side, Gotti. It's for, I'm a human mullet, you know? You got to do it. Yeah. We're going to, like, cover a lot of different cases. Like, everything is cases that are big headline-making things kind of in the news right now, or there's been an update to it. So we start with Gabby Petito because there's been a lot of updates related and information that have come out from civil lawsuits related to what happened to her. Our second episode, we're going to look at the Alexander brothers, that trial that just happened in New York. Our third episode, we're going to talk to this woman who literally infiltrated into a cult, this guy who was claiming he was a prophet. Turns out he was abusing children, and she worked with the FBI to bring him down. So there's a lot coming, and I hope people will watch and enjoy it.
Dude, the hyper fixation that you have is so infectious. We feel it every single time we're around you, and we can't wait to see it on full display. Netflix coming up. Ellison Barber, thank you.
So much.
And you could watch Allegedly now out on Netflix with weekly episodes dropping every Wednesday. So check it out. Yay, thank you, Ellison.
5 minutes.
All right, 5 minutes. Whew. Okay. Good stuff, good stuff. What's up? Let's see here. Okay, we got a late start. Sorry, buddy. We got 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. SML, hello. How's it going? Lisa's doing okay. I am doing okay too. Jay Zillion? Hey, that's a cool name. Jay Zillion? Hello, how's it going? Monkey Beast? Great to see you. Cherubim? Cherry Bum? No sniff weakness? What's your big announcement? Chiron Chan? Let's see. Oh, like our pa con queso. How's it going? I'm not from here, but I came from the video. The one on the school bus. What are your thoughts on that? School bus, school bus. Did I post something on the school bus? Might have been a long time ago. New York. What up, New York? School. Yeah, remind me which story that was. We post a lot of stuff on TikTok. June, hello. How are you? Davis, hello. 32-Bit Panda, Delaware in the house. SML. SML, you're the only one that's allowed to spam. Just don't spam too much, okay? Doreen, hello. How are you? What was that? Oh. Is this? Yikes. Hopefully that's not, too crucial. All right, guys. We got a lot coming up today. We just talked to Miss Rachel. That was very educational segment. We just talked to Ellison Barber. Allegedly is her new show out on Netflix. Check it out. She's one of ours and also one of Netflix's now. And it's going to be so good. True crime. Whitney, Texas, Norma. Howdy. SML. The leg is still broken. Very broken. But feeling better. It's healing. We are going to start with, any guesses? What do you think we're going to lead with today, guys? You've seen all the news today, or maybe you haven't, and maybe that's why you're here, because you want to get the news. What do you think we're going to lead with? South Africa. Hello. Hi, Dale Tobin. Oh, Tobin is my in-law's name. All right. I see you guys are slow on the guesses, so we'll tell you. We are going to start with Iran, Hegseth on Capitol Hill. Lawmakers asking a lot of the questions that people at home have about justifications for the war, how much the war is costing, end goal, timeline, those types of things. It gets very, very testy on Capitol Hill with Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. And we'll be talking to Gabe Gutierrez at the White House. We'll be talking to Ryan Nobles from Capitol Hill. And they're going to give us just a beat check on everything that's happening out of Washington, including apparently Trump, the president, spoke to Putin for like an hour and a half. And they talked about maybe a ceasefire, according to the president, in Ukraine. What would happen if fighting starts again in Iran? And then we also heard the president go after James Comey, who is now been indicted by a grand jury. And we've got James Comey appearing in court. So we're going to get an update on all of that from Gabe Gutierrez. Then David, the case of murder here in Los Angeles with the singer David facing those murder charges of the 14-year-old Celeste Rivas. Very disturbing details that just came in on that case. So we're going to have a live update and then a whole bunch more stuff to get to. This is a packed show, and it's about to start in what, 20 seconds? All right, 20 seconds. Here's what we do. We're going to come here. We're going to lock in. Here we go. And we're off to the races. It's about to look like a real news show until the commercial breaks. Then we'll be able to chat a little bit more. So make sure you queue up those questions. 6 seconds.
5.
Have a good show, everybody.
3 to the long open.
Hey there, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight it is still touch and go with Iran. Negotiations remain stalled and the shaky ceasefire is hanging on by a thread. But in Washington, President Trump insists the United States has the upper hand right now. On Truth Social, he posted this. This is an AI-generated photo of himself holding a machine gun, writing, "Iran can't get their act together. They don't know how to sign a non-nuclear deal. They better get smart soon." And later on in the Oval Office, he defended the U.S.'s strategy overseas.
Well, the blockade is genius, okay? The blockade has been 100% foolproof. It shows how good our Navy is, I can tell you that. Nobody's going to play games. Now they have to cry uncle. That's all they have to do, just say, we give up. We give up. But their economy is really in trouble. So it's a dead economy.
But the real fireworks happened on Capitol Hill, where Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth testified in front of lawmakers for the first time since the war started. And it was fiery from the start. On his way into the chamber, he was greeted by protesters accusing him of war crimes. Listen.
Why are you continuing this war? You deserve to be arrested. You deserve to be arrested. Not to get free reign.
Once inside, tensions did not die down. Members of both parties confronted him on everything from the Strait of Hormuz blockade to the Pentagon's budget. And here's what happened when one congressman called the war, quote, a quagmire.
The way you stain the troops when you tell them 2 months in, Congressman, you should know better. Shame on you. Calling this a quagmire 2 months in. The effort, what they've undertaken, what they've succeeded, the success on the battlefield that could create strategic opportunities, the courage of a president to confront a nuclear Iran, and you call it a quagmire, handing propaganda to our enemies, shame on you for that statement. Don't say I support the troops on one hand, and then a 2-month mission is a quagmire. That's a false equivalation. Who are you cheering for here? Who are you pulling for?
Now let's get out to NBC's chief Capitol Hill correspondent, Ryan Nobles in Washington. So Ryan, clearly very dramatic day, but what did we actually learn, like tangentially? What do we know today that we didn't know yesterday?
Not very much, Gotti, outside of the fact that the Pentagon for the first time put a hard number on the cost of the war up until this point of $25 billion. They really didn't offer many other specifics aside from that number. And that wasn't despite a lack of trying from both Republicans and Democrats, who tried to specifically pin down the defense secretary and the Joint Chiefs chairman and the Pentagon's comptroller on specifics about how much it could cost going forward and what's the overall plan to end the war, the strategic goals that they're looking for. And that led to some testy exchanges like this one. Take a listen.
Well, their nuclear facilities have been obliterated. Underground, they're buried, and we're watching them 24/7. So we know where any nuclear material might be.
Reclaiming my time for
we're
just a
watching
quick
it.
second here. We had to start this war, you just said, 60 days ago, because the nuclear weapon was an imminent threat. Now you're saying that it was completely obliterated?
They had not given up their nuclear ambitions.
And so this was part of the issue that both Republicans and Democrats, but more specifically Democrats, were trying to pin the secretary down on. Exactly why did we get into this war? What are the end goals to try and end this war? And what could potentially be the cost to the average everyday American? And while the secretary talked in kind of broad platitudes about it, it was very difficult for them to get into any sort of specifics that would satisfy, particularly the Democrats on the panel, Gotti.
Okay, so, I mean, insightful, but that was all about the motivation behind the war possibly there. But what about the blockade that is happening right now?
Yeah, I mean, that is an ongoing and continued conflict between Iran and the United States. And it's part of what is holding up this whole process. Iran right now controls that Strait of Hormuz, which is the main shipping channel in and out of the Gulf. Meanwhile, the United States Navy has blocked off pretty much every Iranian port, which is becoming a huge financial cost to the people of Iran. Now, the administration's goal is that that could be enough to break them. But at this point, Iran doesn't seem like they're willing to back down. And that's what led many members of Congress to ask just how long could it be until we get out of this, and could it be a long-term problem? Listen to an exchange on that.
How is this war going? Do you think we're winning?
Militarily on the battlefield, it's been an astounding military success.
No, but are we winning the war?
Absolutely.
Okay, so do you call Iran closing the Strait of Hormuz winning?
Well, I would say the blockade that we hold that doesn't allow anything to come in or out of Iranian ports.
Okay, so we've blockaded their blockade. So they blockaded us, and then we blockaded their blockade. That's like saying, tag, you're it.
And that's where a lot of the frustration stemmed from Democrats on the panel. You heard the word quagmire come up, Gotti, as a way to describe the situation, which the defense secretary took great offense to. Democrats made it clear that they have no complaints about the actual folks that are prosecuting this war, the people that are on the ground, the people that are in those ships. That are kind of executing the orders that have been handed down from the administration. Their question is about the overall strategy and the policy goals, which they believe the administration has not done a good enough job explaining. Gotti.
NBC's Ryan Nobles, thank you. And turning from Capitol Hill to the White House in Virginia and also Russia. Yeah, Russia, we're going to get to that side quest in just a minute. But Virginia, former FBI Director James Comey surrendering to authorities earlier, appearing in court for the first time since his second federal indictment for posting this picture on Instagram. Here's how Trump described that alleged threat there.
Do you really think that he was endangering your life or threatening your life with that?
Well, if anybody knows anything about crime, they know 86. You know what 86? It's a mob term for kill him.
But do you really think your life was in danger?
Probably. I don't know. You know, based on what I'm seeing out there, yeah.
And now let's get over to NBC's senior White House correspondent, Gabe Gutierrez, standing by right now. Gabe, break this down here. This court appearance from Comey. What happens next, and what's the reaction been like so far?
Well, Gotti, look, it was a procedural court hearing. It's something, to be expected. It was over in, less than 10 minutes. But look, people from different sides of the aisle are looking at this very differently. Not surprisingly, Democrats are calling this a vindictive prosecution. But look, even some Republicans are looking at this prosecution and questioning whether the DOJ will end up having enough evidence to convict here. Earlier today, the acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, he was answering questions from reporters at an unrelated news conference, and he's arguing that, yes, this has been an extensive investigation, but one of President Trump's, or at least the Trump administration's outspoken critics on the Republican side, Senator Tom Tillis, was asked about this shortly after it broke yesterday. Listen to what Senator Tillis had to say.
Hopefully there's more to it than just the picture in the sand. Otherwise, I just think it's another example of where we're going to regret this because we're setting a fairly low bar. And political physics, like I've said around here for years, is what it is. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
So certainly Senator Tillis there, Gotti, warning Republicans and warning the Trump administration that if Democrats were to return to power after these midterms, to expect prosecutions on the other side, to turn the tables. Essentially, as for James Comey, he has been reiterating that he wants this to go to court. In his words, quote, "Let's go." Gotti.
Yeah, and that is just one storyline of many huge storylines coming out of the White House today. Trump also surprised so many people, saying he spoke to Putin earlier for a very long time. What's the latest with the war in Ukraine now?
Yeah, that's right. Well, we understand it was about an hour and a half. And look, President Trump speaks with Vladimir Putin from time to time. We had no advance word that he would do so today, but this all comes not just amid the ongoing war in Ukraine, but also the war in Iran. And the president, President Trump and President Putin, we're told, spoke about both topics. Here's some of what President Trump had to say about it when he was asked earlier today in the Oval Office by reporters.
I suggested a little bit of a ceasefire, and I think he might do that. He might announce something having to do with that. Did he announce it yet?
So President Trump asking reporters what the latest was. That was a recurring theme during the media availability today. He seemed to be kind of riffing on a variety of news topics. But look, in that phone call, we understand President Trump spoke with Vladimir Putin about the war in Ukraine. He's been increasingly frustrated with the Russian leader because that war has not come to an end. There's no indication that Vladimir Putin will end up announcing any sort of ceasefire, but there was some consideration of whether he might do so in early May. But the Ukrainians are very skeptical of that. But also, Gadi, in that conversation, we understand that President Trump spoke with Vladimir Putin about the war in Iran, and that Putin offered, according to President Trump, to help the United States with removing some of that enriched uranium from Iran. That's something that seemed to be rebuffed by President Trump, who said that he'd prefer for Putin to end the war in Ukraine, Gadi.
Yeah, complexity on top of complexity there. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez, thank you. And breaking news tonight, in the murder case against the singer David, NBC News has obtained some court documents laying out some of the prosecution's allegations against him, including cutting up the body of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez with a chainsaw. Now let's bring in Camila Bernal to walk us through these new details. And a warning, these are very, very disturbing details. What more did we learn about today regarding the relationship between David and Celeste?
Yeah, so we had talked about it on the show, and now we know that there was a sexual relationship. They met when she was just 11 years old, but they started that sexual relationship when she was 13 years old, and they continued. And prosecutors actually say they have photos, text messages that talk about the sexual relationship, abortions, Plan B. So there are a lot of details that they found in the text messages. She then at some point is reported missing by her parents, and they see that she's talking to David. And so investigators call David and tell him she's missing and she's a minor. And he says, oh, I didn't know she was a minor. They go to his house. He again says, I didn't know she was a minor. She shows up 2 days later after she goes missing. And so they continue dating. They travel together. They go to Vegas. They go to Texas together. And at some point, they break up. But investigators say they still kept that sexual relationship. And then it's April of 2025. They have this big blow up, and she texts him essentially expressing some jealousy and saying, look, I'm going to ruin your career. I'm going to talk about our relationship. He orders an Uber to her house the next day. She takes that Uber from her house to his house, and investigators say that that night her phone goes blank. There's no activity. Yes,
wow.
2025.
It is hard to hear that investigators, jurisdictions are obviously different, but they were checking with David.
Yes.
When she was missing, then she went back home. Then she's found in his car, in his Tesla, months later, and then we wait months and months and months, and finally we're starting to see a full picture. And yet that's not the only detail that we learned today, right?
Yeah, and again, I want to give that warning in case you need to mute because it is pretty gruesome. So investigators say that they believe when she went to his house, he stabbed her multiple times and stood by while she bled out. They also say they have a lot of his Amazon purchases, which were made under another name, but were delivered to his home. Among those purchases are a chainsaw, an inflatable pool, a body bag, and laundry bags that were heavy duty. They also actually have his Postmates order, which was a Home Depot order. He got a shovel and via Postmates. So they have all of this that was delivered to his house. Investigators also say that on Celeste's body, they found pieces of that plastic inflatable pool. They obviously, again, say they have all of these text messages. They have surveillance video of him being the last person to drive that Tesla before he went on tour. They feel like they have a ton of evidence, which was presented in this document today. The defense did not want this to be public, but the judge says this is a public document, so now we have all of this. They've scheduled a preliminary hearing for May 12th, but we'll see what happens because there is a ton of evidence against him, so we'll see what his defense team decides to do.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a ton of evidence, and yet the question remains, like, why did it take so long to make an arrest if they had so much evidence?
Well, they were piecing it together later, and the body.
Camila Bernal, thank you so very much. Meanwhile, it is day 2 of testimony in this high-stakes legal fight between 2 of AI's most powerful players, Elon Musk and Sam Altman. And today, with Musk back on the stand, he said he was, quote, fool for giving OpenAI its early funding, and he got even more combative with lawyers during cross-examination. Remember, Musk is accusing OpenAI CEO of Sam Altman of betraying him by changing the original nonprofit mission into a for-profit model. He testified repeatedly that Altman and others told him the company would remain a nonprofit. But OpenAI says Musk knew about the for-profit switch and even supported it, and things took a turn when Altman refused to give him more control of the venture. Now Musk is asking for billions of dollars in damages that may go back to the nonprofit arm of OpenAI. He also wants Altman kicked off of the OpenAI board and taken out. So let's bring in David Ingram, who has been following this from inside of the courtroom. David, first of all, fly on the wall here. Like, you're in a room where the richest man in the world is taking the stand against another billionaire who just happened to disrupt society with a game-changing technology. And it is not every day that you see 2 of the most powerful figures in tech under the same, like, fluorescent lights of the legal system that everyone else at home and you and I are subject to. What was the atmosphere like in court?
Yeah, that's right, guys. So this was really, I mean, picture a masterful ping pong match here where Elon Musk is on the stand here and he is battling the lawyer for Sam Altman, who is doing a long and thorough cross-examination today, going through detail by detail the founding of OpenAI in 2015 and documents and communications since then over this transformation of OpenAI into a for-profit company. Sam Altman was in the audience today listening to Musk testify. Altman seemed to be paying very close attention. Things are packed in there. It's this courtroom seats about 100 people, not including all the seats for lawyers. Every single one is taken, and also overflowing into another room that also held about 100 people. So you have reporters, lawyers, other interested parties, students who just came to be onlookers. People were sort of riveted and kind of hanging on Musk's every word here because it's so rare to see this kind of courtroom showdown.
And it seems like things got pretty heated between Elon Musk and the OpenAI lawyer cross-examining him. At one point, Musk said the questions were not simple and meant to trick him. What were the most striking moments from that exchange today?
Yeah, this continued throughout the afternoon. Musk testified for more than 4 hours today, most of it on cross-examination. And you mentioned that one moment where Musk kind of acknowledged a little bit that he had been played the fool, in his view, and tricked by the leaders of OpenAI, including Sam Altman. This is really kind of what the case hinges on. Musk says that he's a victim and that he had one put over on him, that he didn't know that Musk didn't know that Altman and other leaders of OpenAI were going to convert OpenAI into this for-profit in the way that they have, and that this essentially was a fraud on a charity, I think the technical term is unjust enrichment that they're using for this charity. And, it's striking to see Musk, who in so many other contexts certainly speaks so highly of his own abilities, to here plead the victim and say that actually he was tricked. So that sort of went back and forth, sometimes repeating themselves for much of the day.
Yeah, and now we see if Sam Altman takes the stand. David Ingram, thank you so much. Now to a fresh wave of lawsuits involving OpenAI. 7 families of victims of a deadly mass shooting in Canada are suing the company and its CEO, Sam Altman, saying OpenAI did not tell police about the shooter's interactions with ChatGPT. Now, back in February, an 18-year-old killed 8 people in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. Her hurt 25 other people as well. Police say she first killed her mother and stepbrother before opening fire at a local high school. The lawsuit alleges the shooter had conversations with ChatGPT about gun violence in the months before the attack. And OpenAI says employees flagged that account and then shut it down last June. Now, the families are accusing OpenAI and Altman of negligence and wrongful death, arguing the company saw warning signs months before the attack, but they did not notify police. An OpenAI spokesperson now responding to the suit saying, in part, quote, "We have zero tolerance policy for using our tools to assist in committing violence. As we shared with Canadian officials, we've already strengthened our safeguards, including improving how ChatGPT responds to signs of distress." Let's bring in Jay Edelson, a lawyer representing the families. Jay, walk us through what these families are claiming, and why do they say that OpenAI and Sam Altman were negligently wrong here?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first time in our world's history where a company had a decision to make and could have stopped the school shooting and decided not to. So our allegations are pretty clear. The shooter was using ChatGPT to plan some sort of shooting, mass shooting, and was flagged for that. 12 people within OpenAI were jumping up and down saying, we need to tell authorities. Something bad's going to happen. We need to tell the cops right away. And what did OpenAI and Sam Altman do? They said, no, keep it quiet. And they did keep it quiet. And then this horrible shooting happened. It was at a middle school. Six people died, 5 kids. They were shot at point-blank range. One of our clients, Maya, is in the hospital fighting for her life right now. She was shot 3 times, once in the head. And it's just a horrible, horrible tragedy. And it's because the leadership at OpenAI, I believe, is morally bankrupt.
And what are these families hoping to get from this lawsuit here?
I mean, there's nothing that's going to make their lives okay. OpenAI has destroyed these people's lives in the town. It's a small town. Tumbler Ridge is about 2,000 people. It's a mining town. Their goal is to first get some answers and get accountability. What their hope is that we fundamentally change how OpenAI operates so this never happens again. A town should never, ever have to suffer like this because of decisions made in a corporate boardroom.
And, you know, the thing that is particularly striking about this case, Sam Altman did send a letter to the community of Tumbler Ridge. It said, quote, "I am deeply sorry that we did not alert law enforcement to the account that was banned in June. While I know words can never be enough, I believe an apology is necessary to recognize the harm and irreversible loss your community has suffered." This apology here, legally, is this an admission of liability? Could this play a role in this suit?
Yeah, it's an admission of liability, but I mean, we've got so much other evidence. It was also a slap in the face. He promised the government in British Columbia that he was going to apologize a month ago. The reason he apologized was he found out that our legal team was in Tumbler Ridge last week. He knew a suit was coming. Also, it is so cowardly to just post an apology like this. What we've said to him and his team is he has an open invitation. He should come to Tumbler Ridge. He should meet the families like we did, and he should apologize, looking at them in the face and explain why he did this. But, you know, Sam Altman's not going to do that. He's going to go to his fancy dinners and, you know, pretend that none of this happened.
Last year, we also saw parents of a teenager who took his own life sue the company. They alleged that the chatbot gave him information about ways to do that, and we saw some of those chats. What do these cases say about what still needs to change when it comes to guardrails for this type of technology?
Yeah, there are about 30 lawsuits that you're referencing, the Adam Rain lawsuit, which we're lucky enough and honored to be representing his family. The 30 suits involve suicides, murder. In Florida right now, there are 2 separate criminal probes that have been initiated by the Florida Attorney General, one over a mass shooting in Florida State University, another involving a double murder in a different university in Florida. Right now, it's a totally unregulated industry, and I think Congress and state legislators have to really start focusing on it.
Jay Elson, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And don't go anywhere. Coming up next, a stabbing attack in London is now being investigated as a terrorist incident, what we're learning there. Plus, popular children's educator and YouTuber Miss Rachel is speaking up, sometimes in the form of songs, about kids being held in ICE detention. She joins us next to talk a little bit about what she's doing.
But the people said, Liam, you are welcome here.
90 here.
All right, 90 seconds. We got 90 seconds to chat. Let's see what's going on. Doreen. Seems dangerous, definitely. Some good, a lot of bad, but yeah, seems like there's a lot of downside for the upside that we hear about as well. Doreen, Miss Rachel, yes, she's coming up. That's right. How do you oblige segments after breaking news? We try to stack them in as soon as we can. It takes a little bit of, preparing the elements and whatnot, but you'll see them pretty fast after the news breaks. Oh, let's see. Hi, over on Twitch. Hello. I don't know where to get these. The pillow that you saw in my office, that you also saw in David's office, my pillow is stolen. I stole it from Steve Patterson. He's a correspondent here. He still doesn't know that I have it, but I put it on the back of my couch so it didn't look like a couch that I bought on OfferUp from a dentist down the road. Made it look a little bit nicer. But yeah, I'll try to find out where they sell those. Maybe we should sell merch. Lord Skyler, howdy. Thank you for breaking news. Anytime. Brent, my 2-year-old son loves Ray Ray, and so does my 4-year-old daughter. Monkey Beast still hurts. Okay, 5 seconds. Here we go.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some of the other headlines we are watching tonight. A stabbing attack on 2 Jewish men in London is being investigated as a terrorist incident. The men were taken to a hospital and are currently in stable condition. A 45-year-old man was arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. This comes just weeks after an arson attack on several ambulances in that area. And Nick Reiner appeared before a Los Angeles judge today. He's charged with a double murder of his parents, director Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner. The couple was found stabbed to death in their home back in December. A 32-year-old Reiner has pleaded not guilty, and he is not expected back in court until September because of some delays in evidence reports. And the Federal Reserve is holding interest rates steady as Jerome Powell speaks to reporters this afternoon for the last time as the chairman. Powell says he plans to continue serving on the Board of Governors as Trump nominee Kevin Warsh prepares to take over the helm, and Warsh says Warsh was just approved by the Senate Banking Committee today in a party line vote. The Supreme Court ruled Louisiana's congressional map is an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. The state will now have to redraw its districts. The decision affects Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which was created to protect against racial discrimination in elections. The ruling could have broader implications on how voting maps will be challenged in future cases. And video captured on a Delta Airlines flight shows a passenger trying to open an exit door after waiting hours for takeoff. Now, that flight from Atlanta to Chicago was held up more than 5 hours due to weather, and according to Delta, the flight returned to the gate and law enforcement removed the passenger. And now to a familiar face for littles, speaking out about the thousands of kids who have been detained by ICE. Many of those kids have been held at the Family Detention Center in Dilley, Texas, amid reports of harmful conditions like unsafe food and lack of medical care. One of the people giving her voice to those kids is world-renowned early childhood educator and the one and only Miss Rachel. She is one of the biggest names on YouTube whose songs have already become an anthem for the youngest generation. And Ms. Rachel joins us now, along with Diane Garcia, who is the pastor of the Roca de Refugio Church in San Antonio, Texas. Ms. Rachel, so good to see you, or Ray Ray, as my kids love to call you. Great to be with you again. Full disclosure, as you know, my little ones have been watching your educational videos for years. I, along with so many others, have seen you become this force of nature for children everywhere. I remember very vividly seeing images of little kids in bombed out homes in Gaza, watching your videos in the rubble, and then watched you rise up to to speak out for kids suffering everywhere. I know recently you've been speaking with kids at the Dilley Detention Center. What are you seeing?
It's heart-wrenching sitting with kids at Dilley Immigration Detention Center. You can see the trauma. It's obvious. You can see that they're being harmed. You're watching them deteriorate, and you just want to help so much. And 1 second, you're talking about soccer and how your favorite food is both pizza and a spelling bee one of them wants to get to, and then the next moment, they're begging you for help to get out of there. And the desperation, it really worries you, like what is going on there, and you're just like, how can I get these children? How can I help?
Your posts, they always, there's always something that leaves, at least myself, thinking for days and days and days. I want to ask, what are some of those stories that you've been told that you can't get out of your head?
Definitely the way children with disabilities are treated, autistic children. One little boy who hadn't pooped in 9 days, he wasn't eating, he was gagging when he tried to eat. As a parent, we know that children should not go 9 days without pooping. I thought it was very alarming. The dangerously inadequate medical care is something that I've spoken with 10 children, and something that I hear over and over is how the water makes them sick. And water is a basic human right. So you find yourself thinking, is this really, like, it's so surreal, and your heart breaks.
And this is the kids telling you that the water's making them sick as well as the parents, or?
Yes, whenever I talk with them, they always bring up that the water makes them sick, that they can't drink it, and that they have to pay $39 a day for water. And they can't afford that. So sometimes the parents are drinking the water that makes them sick and just providing what they can for the kids. And every child has talked to me about the water.
And Pastor Diane, some of the kids in your church have also been detained at Dilley, right? Can you tell us what you're hearing and how this is affecting your community?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so glad to be able to share about my community, because we have been really impacted. We're a church of all immigrant families here in San Antonio, and we have had 5 children detained. That's 3 mothers with their children that were detained. And it's been incredibly hard, especially, of course, for those families that have gone through this experience. The children have been severely impacted and traumatized by the time they spent in Dilley. Similar to what Ms. Rachel was saying, the medical care is really inadequate, the food is inadequate, and the schooling is inadequate. And really any time that a child has to spend in jail is too much time. So it's been really difficult. Luckily, all of those 3 families have been released and have come back to our community. And we've been, trying to help them heal from that experience.
Ms. Rachel, for those of us that grew up watching Mr. Rogers, there's this one episode that Mr. Rogers is sharing a pool with Officer Clemens. I know you know it well, and he washes his feet. It was such a powerful episode back then about racial unity. It feels like today we do see those kind of moments happening on your channel, on YouTube. I think of little Rahaf. I think of some of the songs that you're writing for immigrants, and I wonder, I know it's hard to compare 1969 to today, but do you think that we have a greater capacity for empathy these days as a societal level, or do you think that things might be going backwards?
I see so much beautiful empathy. Pastor Garcia, you, people in our community, there is so much beautiful empathy and love. I think it is so important to remember the golden rule and just stepping into other people's shoes and loving your neighbor as yourself, which we see in all the great world religions. I think that we just have to remember that we're all so similar, and parents want what's best for their kids. And I know that if anyone watching tonight sat down with a child at Dilley, they would not want this to be happening. I know that they would feel from the child that this is wrong, this is abuse, it's neglect, and it's not who we want to be. And I really feel the vast majority of Americans, we don't want to be harming children. And I think that we can all unite over that. And
an optimistic.
I'm so inspired. I'm sorry, I'm so inspired by Mr. Rogers. And that moment, sometimes we look back on it and say, oh, well, look how things are now. But it was not easy then, because people were throwing chemicals into the pools that Black people were swimming in, and they were not letting them swim. And it was a huge thing. And so think about what we feel now about that and how we might feel later about some of these things.
Ms. Rachel, it is kind of, to be honest, it's mind-boggling to hear you say that with so much optimism, given the backlash that we all see you face online. And Pastor, I know you've probably seen some of this as well. How do you describe some of that backlash? Like, why are we seeing what we see today?
It is hard. I think Miss Rachel has seen a lot more than I have, but you know, there's a lot of negative narratives out there and stereotypes and misinformation as well. And that's why it's so important for us to share the stories of what's actually happening and to share the stories of these children and, you know, what they're really experiencing, to try to shed light on their voices and their stories and to open people's hearts to that compassion. Because you know, as a pastor, and very similar to Miss Rachel, I believe that everyone is fundamentally good and has the ability to love and is worthy of love. And so I think if we just keep sharing those stories, then that's going to come through.
And yet, you know, and again, maybe I'm just speaking for myself here, but as a parent, how, Miss Rachel, I know you have a little one at home. You have two little ones at home. One is very, very little right now. How do you keep your heart that open, worrying about your kids and then worrying about the millions of kids that you're speaking out for on a daily basis?
Aw, I love my little ones, and I see all the kids in the whole world just like I see them. I adore my kids, and I do see every child as I see them. And there's a beautiful James Baldwin quote, "The children are always ours, every single one of them all over the globe." And I really think that if the grown-ups of the world see all the children like that, imagine the kind of world that we'll leave for our children and grandchildren if we take such good care of all the kids, because then they'll grow up into happy, healthy adults in a wonderful society and a safer, more loving world that's thriving for them. And we have to do that. It's our responsibility.
That is something worth hoping for. Rachel, Pastor Garcia, thank you so very much for your time. And coming up, our friend Ellison Barber, she is partnering up with Netflix to host a new true crime podcast. She's going to join us next with a look at what to expect. And also, we are trying a little something different here. If you see this QR code, feel free to scan through. You can chat with us live during the breaks. That'll take you behind the scenes, streaming on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch. Those that are on there right now, you know what we're talking about. Swing by and let us know your thoughts. We're talking about you guys. We're talking about the TikTokers, the YouTubers, the Twitchers. Oh yeah, we got 4 people on Twitch today. What are we missing here? SSJG Nolan. Can I just call you Nolan? I have thought a lot about how to cover the Palantir Manifesto. I've thought a lot about it. Do you have any guests that we should talk to that can kind of give us an overview? Most of the things I like to cover come from a very existential place, and there is a lot to talk about when it comes to that manifesto that they posted. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think we will probably cover it. Great call. Let's see. Quiet Observation 73. Make them. What are we talking about? Dale. He has been appointed by the President of the United States, President Trump, so he is a Trump pick. He says that he will be independent. We shall see how the Fed reacts going forward.
The chat has no compassion for the children. Everything is backwards now. Doreen, no way. Be optimistic. Look, you have compassion. I think there's so much room for empathy. I think we just have to wade through all of the, things that may look like they're real and are not real online. But yeah, humans are still fundamentally good, I think, I hope. Z-Bot, which trial are you talking about? Hi, Lisa. Oh, Lisa's in the house? Let's see. Oh, there she is. I'm always here, SML. Okay, let's see.
45.
What else are you guys talking? We do need more Miss Rachels in the world. We do. Look, I've known her for a long time. If you watch Miss Rachel, you probably know This Is Up. That's the song that, it's a long story, but my daughter used to watch her during the pandemic, and I was like, this is great for early childhood development. I went to her house, we interviewed her for the Today Show, and she's like, I wrote a song last night, you want to do it? So we performed
15.
it. But yeah, some people wear their heart on their sleeve. Miss Rachel is like talking to a soul, unfiltered. It's pretty wild.
5, starting here, and then 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Our very own Ellison Barber has officially launched a new true crime podcast on Netflix titled Allegedly with Ellison Barber, which is also produced by NBC News Studios. Now, the first episode is already out on Netflix. New episodes are going to continue to drop weekly as Ellison breaks down high-profile cases with some of the most trusted criminal and legal minds out there. Take a quick look.
Allegedly is a podcast where we look at contemporary true crime cases, things that are active, that you've heard about, either there's been some sort of update or it's literally going on right now. And it's not just me. I bring along a friend or somebody directly connected to the case that really help us move the conversation forward.
And let's bring in the one, the only Ellison Barber to talk a little bit more about this podcast. So Ellison, this is so epic. Huge congratulations. I gotta ask, what inspired you to talk about this? What inspired the launch of this particular podcast? Because I gotta say, like, when you get to talk to you in real life, you have so many interests that are just as amazing as this, and yet this seems like such a perfect fit.
I mean, you know me well enough to know that I have a problem or a strength in being like hyper fixated on things I'm interested in. So it's amazing that I'm getting to do once a week one case and just be like fully obsessed and in every detail I can possibly find. Yeah, it's crazy. This is the coolest thing to be a part of. For me, I have been an avid true crime watcher, listener, reader, all the things for forever. Like, I joke that I fall asleep going to bed, like watching Dateline, but I really do. And I have every night, like, obviously I don't have children. I have a lot of time for that to be like my wind down routine, but I obsessively watch Dateline episodes. I watch every single Netflix true crime documentary. And for me, I always say, even when I was just someone who was watching it or listening to it or reading about it, I was always interested in it because of the same reasons I do all the other things that I do in this job. Like, I care about people. I care about the truth. I care about giving other people as much factual information as possible. And I really think information is the best tool that we have, particularly in cases like criminal cases, to maybe find ways as a society to do something different or to maybe prevent the bad things from happening. So it's been really cool to get to do this. And it's such a layered show. Like, it changes kind of week to week depending on the guest, but it's so exciting. And it's a new episode every Wednesday on Netflix, which is so crazy to say.
Ellison, it's so interesting to hear you say that because, your background, our viewers of this show will remember you as a war correspondent covering Ukraine. There is something about you that seems so drawn to, very dangerous situations. You've been in Gaza, Israel, and again, we see you covering the horrors of war, the fear, the uncertainty, and yet the humanity in all of it. And there is somewhat of an overlap between, again, this primal fear of things like killers and murder in our society and the things that you've seen. Like, how do you reconcile all of that?
Yeah, I mean, I really think so much of it for me in all of these stories. Like the reason why we tell these stories, the reason why we go in the field, go to places, why we do interviews. And I mean, you have done this so often in your career, all over the place too, right? You do it all the time, every night on this show as well, is that we know that the news, big events, bad things, that it has real impacts on real people, and that it's important to tell those stories because there are ripple impacts. It doesn't always just impact the people that are involved, it impacts so many people beyond it. And so that, I think, for me, is the connection between what I do in conflict zones and doing something like this. But the truth is, I think that is like, I think of it when I see your work too, that I'm like, I think that's what drives a lot of us who do journalism, is that we care about the news, we care about what's happening in the world, we think information is valuable for people to have, but we also know that the news impacts people, and that that's why it is always such a big deal. And like, we're always trying to figure out ways of how we center people in those stories and keep them in mind as we tell news.
Yeah, the ripple effects are what, connect us all for good and for bad. Before we let you go, weekly episodes dropping. You got Gabby Petito. What else can we expect you to cover? And what else are we going to be on the lookout for, other than like trying to count the tattoos on the one side? I didn't know you had them on one side for the business and the...
The one side, only on the left side, Gotti. It's for... I'm a human mullet, you got to do it. Yeah. We're going to like cover a lot of different cases. Like everything is cases that are big headline-making things kind of in the news right now, or there's been an update to it. So we start with Gabby Petito because there's been a lot of updates related and information that have come out from civil lawsuits related to what happened to her. Our second episode, we're going to look at the Alexander brothers, that trial that just happened in New York. Our third episode, we're going to talk to this woman who literally infiltrated into a cult, this guy who was claiming he was a prophet. Turns out he was abusing children, and she worked with the FBI to bring him down. So there's a lot coming, and I hope people will watch and enjoy it.
Dude, the hyper fixation that you have is so infectious. We feel it every single time we're around you, and we can't wait to see it on full display. Netflix coming up. Ellison Barber, thank you. And you can watch Allegedly now on Netflix, with weekly episodes dropping every Wednesday, so check it out. Coming up, a viral prank of people running into Scientology buildings is sparking controversy as church members don't find it funny at all. More just ahead, so stay tuned.
All right, we got 2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right, we got 2 minutes. All right, let's see what the chat is saying. A viewer by the name of Lisa Marie on Twitch says, or on YouTube says, "That's my girl. Ellison is the best." Lisa Marie, where does that sound from? Oh, that's my executive producer admitting that she loves Ellison Barber way better than I am at this job. I'm going to say, when I was out on paternity, Ellison did a lot of filling in. There's a secret on our team. She is like an incredible, incredible journalist. And yeah, we love it when she fills in, and Lisa secretly loves her more. And so do I. Yes, please, please watch Ellison's new podcast. It is her in her full glory, her in her element. It's awesome. Let's see. What else is going on? Spooky Investigation. Podcast looks so cool. It totally does. That looks like a legitimate site. That's a really good question, Dale. I wish I would have seen this a little bit earlier. I would have asked her. That's a really, really good question. When I see her in person, I'll ask her. Let's see. Congratulations. Oh, yeah. I remember she covered for Gotti when she was on paternity leave. Oh man. Sure, Lisa. Sure. She's the only one you can love more than, us West Coasters.
30.
What country did you enjoy visiting? I moved to Laos. I've never been to Laos. There's so many countries out there that are incredible. Philippines was pretty amazing. I know. I should. And we should call it the overview. I'd love to do that. Please. All right. Coming back. 10 seconds. Here we go.
5. 3 to animation.
And welcome back. Now in the future of everything, the 4 astronauts from the Artemis II mission. They visited the White House today, and the president actually invited the crew to come visit while they were still up in space. Well, back here on Earth today, he congratulated those astronauts on their successful mission. He talked about their courage, their strength, and the possibility of maybe a president someday going up into orbit.
They're very brave, and that was a lot of rocket under them. I never saw anything like that. Unbelievable courage. Unbelievable. A lot of other things, too, by the way. To get in there, you have to be very smart. You have to do a lot of things physically good. So I would have had no trouble making it. I'm physically very, very good. Is a president allowed to go up in one of these missions?
We can get working on that, Mr. President.
We'd have no problem, right?
And other space news, Trump also addressed when we're going to see UFO files.
Do you have an update on the UFO files and what might be, when we're going to be seeing those?
Well, I think we're going to be releasing as much as we can in the near future. I think some of it's going to be very interesting to people. I've interviewed people, my first term primarily, but I interviewed some pilots, very solid people, and they said they saw things that you wouldn't believe. So you're going to be reading about it.
Hopefully so. And now to a trend you might have seen on your social media feeds, this thing that people are calling speed running into Scientology buildings here in LA and recording it as they go, all to see how far they can get into those typically secretive places. But the Church of Scientology seems to have had enough, and Sam Brock has this one.
This is just one snapshot of so-called speedrunners, including a man dressed like Jesus stampeding right through security at a Scientology building on Hollywood Boulevard. Let's go! Screaming as they sprint into the organization's notoriously clandestine halls.
But let's go in.
Others taking a more subtle approach, even signing in, looking for access.
Hi. Oh no, let me do that real quick.
Or apparent content for social media videos that are suddenly everywhere. They're calling it speed-running Scientology. Get out! Inspired by video game slang, here the players are not just confronting guards, but unlocking maps of the buildings. Former Scientologist turned critic Leah Remini slamming the efforts as failing to highlight anything substantive.
It feels like it's about clicks, and it's turning something serious into content, and in doing so it completely loses the point.
Their purpose isn't entirely clear, and some participants appear to be teenagers. One creator credited with beginning the trend, known only as Swiley, telling The Hollywood Reporter, "I didn't do this whatsoever to come out against them or anything. I do not condone what I did, even though I didn't break any laws." With the Scientology spokesperson telling NBC News, these are peaceful spaces. Turning them into targets for viral stunts is not journalism, protest, or civic activity. It is trespass, harassment, and disruption of religious facilities. The spokesperson adding they're taking protective security measures and reporting the incidents to police. After a recent incident last weekend, the LA Times reporting that the LAPD's Major Crimes Division has been tasked with investigating it as an alleged hate crime.
Just get out! Thank you! Go! Get out! Go!
As Remini has cautionary words for the content creators and their legal exposure.
This trend creates chaos. It creates a spectacle. And worst of all, it hands Scientology exactly what they want, the ability to position themselves as the victim.
Sam Brock, thank you for that. And still to come, a look at how artists through the years have redefined what it means to roll out a new album. But first, you got to see this. King Charles III and Queen Camilla made their big stop in the Big Apple today, and the two were very busy. King Charles went up to Harlem to feed chickens on a farm with kids, while Queen Camilla went to the New York Public Library for the 100th year anniversary of Winnie the Pooh. Their eventful trip to the States is expected to end tomorrow. We'll be right back.
2.5. All right. Here we go. Let's see. I don't have a voice. I'm sorry. Be me. Let's see here. Gems, that's hilarious. What are you guys talking about? How many do you think how many do you think Nolan? What does Nolan say? UFOs, da-da-da-da. Oh, how many people work on this show to make it work? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here in LA, 7 here in LA right now. How about you, Lisa? How many do you have? Like 14 in New York? 15, 16, 17? It's well over 20, for sure. It's a big, it's a big undertaking to put this show on television that I don't think people realize. And guess what? It's free. It's totally free. And you get to chat with us during commercial breaks. How awesome is that? Let's see. Oh, Z-Bot. Yeah. Sorry. Yes, that one. Okay. Sorry. Yes, Oakland. I for some reason, I thought San Francisco. Didn't realize it was in Oakland, but yes, that one is the trial that I definitely should have known about. Crew is a whole other count. What did you say?
1 minute.
15. Yep. Dun, 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 dun. What else? Yeah, please. Let's see some UFO files. If you're going to say we're going to release the UFO files, we should see the UFO files. I was just thinking of how many people doing things it takes to make this work. It is a lot. And and again, this is our show just putting it together. We're also pulling from the resources of NBC News. So you've got, all the people that made Gabe Gutierrez's live shot, Ryan Nobles' live shot. Field crews are a whole other level to how many people go into this show. So it's probably like 30 to 50 people, if I would say, on a nightly basis. It's pretty wild. Okay, 10 seconds, guys. Actually, like 3 seconds. Here we go.
5, 4, 3.
And finally tonight, when it comes to new music, sometimes fans are in the know before an artist even says a word. Dropping a new album used to mean a radio tour, maybe like a TV appearance, but now artists are getting way more creative. Here's how.
Oh my God!
A huge ice sculpture. People with pickaxes and blowtorches, and Twitch streamer Kishka is at the top, smashing it and trying to set it on fire. Then he finds a bag that reveals the release date for Drake's new album, Iceman. Yeah, this 25-foot ice installation was just a way to promote the rapper's upcoming project.
Iceman, May 15th. May 15th.
That's the latest stunt in the art of the album rollout, where artists build hype between the announcement and the release. But how did we get here? Before social media and streaming, there was radio. Temple University professor Timothy Welbeck says if a DJ played your single, your album had a chance.
At NEWFM, that's the Steve Miller Band and their 1973 smash, The Joker.
Pre-internet, the goal was to get in front of people. So sometimes that was radio, sometimes it's television.
Hi, how are you? I'm fine.
Sometimes it's live performances. Oftentimes it was a combination of those things together.
Once TV entered the mix, artists weren't just voices anymore. They were personalities, performers, and visual brands.
I have a big responsibility. Look what I've done.
Stars like Michael Jackson and Madonna helped turn visuals into marketing gold. Music videos, interviews, and award show moments became just as important as the songs themselves. And then the internet changed the rules again.
People began to get access to music online via file sharing sites like Napster, which then created iTunes because people wanted a legitimate means to access file sharing. Over time, this gave rise to independent artists having a greater opportunity to reach their fan bases because they could cut out the middleman. They could access their consumers directly via social media and other internet sites.
In 2007, Radiohead stunned the industry by letting fans pay whatever they wanted for an album online. And once social media came online,
I think Beyonce just released an album on iTunes.
What?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Whoa! Whoa!
Oh my God.
Whoa!
Oh my God. Oh my God. Hold on. I'm about to tweet the link. I'm about to tweet it.
When Beyonce released her self-titled album in 2013, it gave the impression that people could release an album without some of the traditional mechanisms of promotion.
We also saw tech companies jump on board.
U2's new album, Songs of Innocence, is going out
for free to 500 million people in the next 5 seconds.
Others, like Kanye West, turn releases into live streams, listening parties, and headline-making events. 2020, The Weeknd built a full storyline around the release of his album After Hours, turning promotion into performance art. Now we're entering a whole new era. Fans don't just watch a rollout from their screens, they participate. Taylor Swift turning Easter eggs into a global sport.
Okay, Taylor just posted another message from the vault for Red this time. Now, the first thing we notice is there's autumn leaves falling.
While other artists take their promotion into their own hands, literally.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. I'm out here trying to sell these CDs. I'm trying to change my life around.
She was literally outside pretending that she was an independent artist, but indirectly engaging fans.
If you could please buy my new album, Am I the Drama? Am I the Drama? $9.99.
I think that's so important, especially now when people have so many options, that you want to make a genuine connection to the people who want to support you.
And as the music industry evolves, so will the rollouts. So where do things go from here?
The artists who will stay the long haul will be the artists who connect to their fans authentically and leverage the changing ecosystem of content. And attention is currency, and so you have to find ways to get people to pay attention to you.
Attention is currency. Incredible story. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you here tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned to NBC News Now.
Dude, Nicole edited that? Are you kidding me? All right, Nicole is one of our all-star producers. Apparently she edited that, found every single piece of like archive video for the history of epic album drops, and that piece came together very, very quickly. Holy smokes, I am like still processing. If you know news, and you would have seen the timeline and you would have seen how that story came together, you would have been like, no, dude. All right, we got to finish up because I got to call somebody right after this. But thanks, Aaron. Yes, very, very great segment. That was all Nicole, this producer Nicole. She is like a phenom. SML, Asta, we'll see ya. Lord Skylar, great seeing you. And thank you guys so very much for watching. Feel free to pop back in tomorrow. Tell your friends, not too many of them. But yeah, we do the news here where we can chat during the commercial breaks. We can talk about how we see the world. We all get along. It's like a little experiment in building community of the future. So that's at least what we're hoping to do. And I hope you guys have a wonderful night. And again, really, really appreciate you guys lending your time to us. So, hasta.